All I've ever wanted was to be a mom. I expected it to be magical.
Happy mommy, daddy, happy baby, picture everything ideal.
And it was not like that. It was hell.
My friends have kids, so I knew parenting would be hard, but I didn't expect to get hit with the postpartum.
Some data suggests 1 in 5 women experience a perinatal mood and anxiety disorder. I will say, though, for those of us that do this work and treat women every day, that number's probably more like 1 in 3.
My stereotypical concept of postpartum was just not the whole story at all.
I was having very different feelings. I was experiencing rage,
OCD that was very, very intense.
this need to overprotect my family.
My thoughts went to places that I'm not comfortable with.
And just panic. And I had never felt panic before.
The sadness, it was just different than feeling hormonal. It was a clear line for me that was like, something's wrong.
And they kept saying, just wait, it's gonna get better. This is normal.
This is new, it's overwhelming. Take a shower, take a nap.
I was so scared that I was never gonna feel that love and connection and loving to be a mother. And it's like this permanent decision that I couldn't turn back on.
It was this thing I always wanted, and I had it, and I just hated myself, and I hated being pregnant. It felt like there was no solution.
The great news is how treatable all these illnesses are. Really treatable. Everyone can get better.
What would you all say to, thank you. What would you all say to new and expecting moms? What do you want them to know?
Talk to a reproductive psychiatrist. Don't talk to Google.
So the Motherhood Center is really one of the first of its kind clinical treatment facilities for pregnant and new moms that are having a very difficult time making the transition to parenthood.
And look up to the ceiling. Raise your arms over your head.
And then, yeah, it just starts to move around a lot.
I like that.
Yeah, it's much harder to control, but sometimes that's nice. Yeah. Just let things happen.
The basis on which the day program is really founded is this group therapy format. They are the most powerfully transformative interventions I've ever seen.
You got a piece of paper.
I think the thing that made this place so effective was that marriage of therapy, medication, and the community.
The way they helped me through my insurance and the logistics of just getting myself here every day when I was scared to leave the house. No one has ever done anything like that for me.
It's just the most caring place I've ever been, and there's no judgment.
They sort of said, this is what we think it is, and by the way, you will get better from this. And just hearing that, I remember even leaving there feeling so much better because someone had told me that I could feel better.
I felt so alone while I was pregnant, and I didn't feel alone here.
Let alone the clinicians and trained people that were here. It was talking to the other moms and seeing their different levels of progress that helped me move forward. That group was everything.
The women help each other. It lets you know and feel that you're not alone, and that whatever you're struggling with, somebody else has or is struggling with it, and that they are here to help you.
You need help, you just do. I didn't realize how hard I would be on myself about this concept I had in my head of what a good mother is.
I remember sitting at the park one day looking at all of the other mothers laughing and smiling. My son asleep in a sling because it was the only way I could get him to sleep, so he was always on me. As I was sitting there, this woman started walking towards me, and she was beautiful, and she had her hair done and her makeup on. She had this beautiful little girl all in pink, and the baby was smiling at her, and she was smiling at the baby, and they were having this moment, and she looked over at me and she said, "Isn't this the greatest thing that ever happened to you?" And I looked at her and I said, "No. This is the hardest thing I've ever done, and sometimes I wish I never did it." And the tears started to roll down her cheeks, and she said, "Thank you so much for saying that. I feel the same way." I was constantly fixated and worried about everything. What ifs and shoulds, and the noise in my head just was causing me so much distress. And I became profoundly depressed and decided within myself that my family was going to be much better off without me. And there was a bus coming at us, and for whatever happened in that moment that held me back, something did. And I remember the bus passing and catching a glimpse of my reflection in the window. And I didn't recognize myself. I didn't know who I was. I didn't see somebody that I knew, but I saw somebody that I knew really needed help. And I hailed a cab, and I went to the Payne Whitney Women's Clinic, which is actually where my partner, Dr. Berndorf, was a reproductive psychiatrist, and I got the help that I needed. There is help out there for everybody.
One of my best friends is in France, and they were like, "Oh yeah, you get a nurse that comes to your house once a week, you know, for months, and classes and this." And like here, they asked me 2 questions. Do you have a car seat? And do you feel safe with your husband?
When I did go on medication and therapy, and I slowly started to feel better, I became enraged. Nobody told me along my journey at any step or juncture, this is what's happening to you, or these are the things you need to look out for, especially if you have a history of anxiety and or depression, which I did. Nobody said anything. I had had a public policy background and done a lot of advocacy and political work, and so I started writing legislation for treatment and screening of PMEDs. Catherine approached me and said, "Hey, I have this idea. What do you think?" I said, "Where do I sign up?" And so here we are on our 2nd year anniversary of the Motherhood Center's doors being open.
I think it's very apparent to most people that when a woman is pregnant and gives birth, there are physical changes. But at the same time, there are tremendous psychological changes. Most people think, you know, there's a little slice of bliss, and then there are those people who are ill. Well, wrong. There's a huge and wide range of normal of these new feelings in your new identity.
I think a myth about postpartum that scares a lot of women and scared me is that if you share the scary thoughts you're having, they're gonna take your baby away. But for the majority of people, that's not the case. And a lot of the times you'll share those thoughts, especially in here, and people say, "Oh yeah, I've thought that too."
I was just, every time I heard him cry, every ounce of my being would shake. And
Our Western culture wants to believe that mothers are sacred. And the idea that a pregnant woman could be conflicted about her pregnancy, or that a new mom may not be gaga over her baby, that's abhorrent to people, is viewed as less than, and makes us feel shame. And shame is a scourge. It is a silent killer.
Yeah, I felt like I was bad. It feels like there's these opposites. There's the good mom and the bad mom. And I felt like right off the bat, I was setting my kid up and I was a bad mom. The pressure of being perfect started with just being pregnant.
It doesn't always need to be a certain way. It can just be about the process.
We don't really pay attention to the before and afterness of having a baby and how discarded a mother can be. I would argue to some level, and I'm not a doctor, but that every new parent goes through some variation of this. And while there are extreme moments in parenting that require critical care, you should not require critical care to be cared for. Plan for your postpartum period. Plan for, you know, the logistics of who's going to take care of your house when you bring your baby home, because you're bringing yourself home again too.
It's fine to ask for help, and it's fine to be mad and sad and miserable.
It's okay to have this, and it's a disease. No matter how strong you are, how much you've overcome, this is a sickness that needs to be properly treated.
Every single entity that comes in contact with a new and expecting mom, we all have to be aware and talking and looking for this because it's the #1 complication affiliated with birth. And it's common, and it's treatable, and it's nothing to be ashamed of. We need to figure out ways that we can educate women before it happens. Partners and family members need to know too, because I'd say at this point we've treated close to 200 women, and every single one of those women who has walked out of here is significantly better. It's a treatment that we know works undeniably.
I feel so good. I mean, I'm happier than I've ever been.
I'm doing well, and I can really enjoy being a mom.
I think they really saved my life here, right?
This is Finn.
This is Chloe.
He goes by Sammy.
This is Miles.
Is that funny?
I want to say they made me a better mom, but they didn't, because I think I was probably always a really good mom. They just made me understand the definition of what a good mom is.
It just gets better and better. I mean, it's definitely a challenge. I'm just not hard on myself, you know? And I roll with it, and we just have so much fun figuring things out together.
It gets really great when you're happy. It's good when you're happy.
There's hope that we don't have to live in a box of perfection, of one way. If there's something in your gut that's telling you something's not right with the person that you love, say something. Just ask.
Ask a mom, how are you doing? And if it's happened to you, give her permission to have a difficult time too.
Actually, this place is the one place that makes you understand that it's not perfect, and that's what's perfect.
My name is Paige Bellenbaum.
My name is Catherine Berndorf, and I'm a scary mommy.